Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, brothers and sisters. Today's video we're going to be continuing to read the second station of the 13th word. By the way, if you're wondering where I am, I'm actually in a darsana, or study hall, in Texas. We actually went all the way here to go to this study hall, so I am actually here right now. So, without further ado, let's get started. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. These last two ways are self-evident. They do not require proof, they are plain for all to see. Since the appointed hour is secret, and death may come at any time and cut off one's head, and it does not differentiate between young and old, perpetually having such an awesome and serious matter before him, unhappy man will surely search for the means to deliver himself from that eternal extinction, that infinite, endless, solitary confinement, the means to transform the door of the grave into a door opening on to an everlasting world, eternal happiness and world of light. It will be a question for him that looms as large as the world. So, let's analyze this paragraph. Now, before I sort of make some commentary here, I would like to, so it talks about the last two ways. So earlier we were discussing three ways to approach the grave, okay? So this is basically talking about three different perspectives that you can have of the grave or of death, okay? So to just quickly summarize that, in the first perspective, you believe in the afterlife, but in the first perspective, you believe that the grave is the door to another life, okay? Much better than this life, okay? So it's the door to the afterlife. In the second way, or the second perspective, the grave is the door to the afterlife, but because you approach it in a deviant way, okay? So in a sinful manner, it ends up becoming a place of torment, a place of punishment, okay? Because God punishes you for your sins. In the third way, third perspective, you don't believe in the afterlife at all. And as a result, the next life also becomes a place of torment, of punishment, okay? So it says here, these last two ways are self-evident. They do not require proof. They are plain for all to see. So what does that mean here? Well, in the second and third perspective, okay, both of the people who hold this perspective have a common point. That common point is that both of them are suffering. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Well, both of them are failing to attain immortality, and they end up suffering they end up suffering eternally. So they fail to attain eternal happiness, and they are punished with eternal punishments. Okay, this is what happens to the people of the second and the third way. Now, why is that? Well, first of all, for the people who follow the second way, okay, so you believe in the afterlife, okay, you believe in the afterlife, but you are deviant, okay, so you approach it in a misguided way, so you commit sins, you transgress the boundaries of God. What ends up happening is because you don't do things that are within the licit, within the boundaries of God, you fail to attain. What ends up happening is you're punished for those misdeeds, okay? And you fail to attain eternal happiness. Now, what do I mean? So, usually, when we think about someone who is trying to attain immortality, we might usually think of a small group of extremely rich people who are trying to do that, okay? They might be investing money into these longevity studies, and they might be trying to extend their lifetime, make themselves immortal. But if you think about it, many of us are trying to be immortal in one way or another. How? think about it like this. Let's say you're an unbeliever. You're not a Muslim, okay? You're a non-Muslim, okay? So think about it like that. Let's say you go to a cocktail party, okay? You're celebrating, you're drinking alcohol, you're just partying, you're just having the day of your life, okay? It's very wonderful. But eventually, as nighttime comes, or, as it gets late, people start leaving the party, okay? The ground is strewn with confetti. The balloons are starting to float slowly the balloons are slowly floating towards the ground. And, you notice that the banter, the roar of laughter, it fades away into this dead, extremely uncomfortable silence. And what ends up happening is that the party, that cocktail party that you just went to, it's dead. It's dead. Here's what I mean. The past is dead. It's died, okay? It's died. The past is dead, okay? When we think about death, we usually think about death as something, as, just, the ultimate, like it's the end of your life, right? But if you think about it, our past also has a sort of a set of deaths, okay? Everything that's happened in the past, it's now dead, okay? It's like a set of graves, okay? When someone that you love is dead, okay, you go to their funeral, you mourn for them, you feel aggrieved, you feel devastated, okay? Now think about it. Imagine all those wonderful memories that you've had, all those happy times that you've had in the past, it's now dead. It's like every one of them, every wonderful memory that you had, it's now like a grave. It's now like a grave. And as a result, we want to experience that happiness again. We feel devastated by these graves, by the deaths of the past, and we want to attain immortality. And what do? We try experiencing those pleasures again and again. But this is the problem. We discussed this in a part of the Risale-i when we were talking about Eid, in the video about Eid. The pleasures of this world, they can temporarily mask the realities of life. What are the realities of life? The realities of life, right? Which is transience. Life is transience. It's ephemeral. It's ephemeral. Okay, I think that's how it's pronounced. Ephemeral. So it's very passing. Okay, and we try to mask that. We try to conceal that from ourselves by just constantly indulging in pleasures in a sort of hedonistic lifestyle. And temporarily that works. But after a certain point, it no longer works anymore. It doesn't work anymore, okay? Because you're afflicted with illness, old age, sicknesses, and eventually that delusional fantasy world which you're living in gets shattered. In fact, I recently learned about a term called midterm crisis, okay? No, not midlife crisis, my bad. So this is when you reach like your 40s and you end up having like an existential crisis, okay? Because once you reach your 40s, the signs of old age are starting to come. You realize that you're not immortal. You're not going to live forever. Now, it's not like that. Now, this is coming from someone who's 16. When you're young, okay, so when you're in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, etc., you pretty much think that you're immortal. You pretty much think that you're going to live forever. And the idea of death it's very distant, right? You don't really acknowledge it as something that's actually going to happen to you. And then when you come to your 40s, all of that is shattered. You realize that death is a reality, and that's why some people experience this midlife crisis. Perhaps maybe all people experience it. I can't say it for sure because I've never had experience with that. Maybe, quite many years later. But when people reach that midlife crisis, they realize that their life is passing, that they're going to die, So it's temporary. The pleasures of this world cannot forever mask the pain of the reality of transience, okay? We're just not able to make the pleasures of this life immortal, okay? And this is the loss with indulging in illicit pleasures, in committing misdeeds. And this is frequently emphasized in the Quran, it's fruitless. It's fruitless. you gain nothing from doing it, okay? You gain nothing. In the afterlife, you're not going to gain anything for those misdeeds that you did, and in fact, you're going to be punished, okay? And you could be you're going to be punished, okay? So that's how it is, you know. And for the people of the second perspective, it's even worse, because the people of the second perspective also reject the afterlife. They reject the afterlife. Because they reject in the afterlife, they will be punished in hell forever. That the people of the second perspective, they might be able to attain salvation, right? After they've been punished for a certain period of time, they might attain salvation. But the people of the third perspective, they've rejected the afterlife. They've rejected God. They've rejected his prophets, his angels, his holy scriptures. And they will be punished eternally. Okay? So they suffered in this life. They suffered in the next life as well. The people of the second perspective also suffered in this life, in this life. But they might still have a chance of attaining paradise, of attaining salvation, or like eventually being saved from the fire. But the people of the third perspective don't have a possibility like that, right? If they were given proofs of Islam, right, of the existence of God, of the existence of his angels, of his prophets, and he still rejected it, he doesn't have a possibility of being saved, because he's rejected Islam. He's rejected God. He's rejected the afterlife. This life of his will turn into hell, and the next life of his will also turn into hell. Okay? So, very hellish life. It says here, and it says these last two ways are self-evident. You can see this. It says here they are plain for all to see. You can see this so plainly manifested. You can see this suffering, this hell on earth. You can really see it manifested clearly. You can see it manifested in people's indulgence and hedonistic pleasures. You can see it, you can just sort of see behind the mask of pleasure that suffering that people are experiencing, that hollowness that they're in, that emptiness that they're experiencing, that meaninglessness that they're grappling with. You can really see it manifested. You can really see it manifested in a plain way. You just observe it from people themselves, okay? So it says here, since the appointed hour is secret and death may come at any time and cut off one's head, and it does not differentiate between young and old. So death can come at any time. I might die right now while making this video, okay? It's not like death is going to say, okay, well, you're young, I'll probably go ahead for someone who's cranking his 40s. That's not how it goes. People from all ages die. From all ages, death does not discriminate, okay? It says here, perpetually having such an awesome and serious matter before him, unhappy man will surely search for the means to deliver himself from that eternal extinction, okay? That infinite, endless, solitary confinement, okay? So the solitary confinement, right? So that eternal extinction, right? So this is talking about when you die and you perish into nothingness. You become nothing. But once again, we're not just trying to protect ourselves from extinction. We're also trying to attain a life that is, we're trying to attain a continuous string or a continuous chain of pleasures. What I mean by that is we want eternal pleasures. We seek eternity, okay? The problem is that, there are many books or podcasts and whatever, videos that talk about how to be happy in this life. The problem is that they try to provide, the problem is the framework within which they're trying to help people become happy it's a framework within a transient world, okay? You're trying to be happy with transient pleasures. That just doesn't work, Like having eternal pleasures, that's in the afterlife, That's in the afterlife. So you cannot be you cannot have eternal pleasures in this life. You can constantly indulge in them, but it's going to yield pain. It's transient, So we're desperately looking for a way to save ourselves, not just from eternal extinction, but not just the eternal extinction that's going to come in the future, but also the past, right? Because remember, everything in the past is now extinct. It's dead, right? We talked about this. It's a set of graves. We're trying to escape that, okay? We're trying to escape that, and we're trying to become immortal. We're trying to become immortal, and we're trying to make the pleasures that we experience immortal, okay? That infinite, endless, solitary confinement, the means to transform the door of the grave into a door opening on to an everlasting world, eternal happiness, and a world of light. It will be a question for him that looms as large as the world. Okay? So this is a very important matter. It's a very important matter. We're trying to transform the door of the grave into a door opening to an everlasting world, eternal happiness. This is what we seek. This is what we need, okay? We need a place of eternal happiness, a place where we can live forever, where the pleasures that we experience are forever. They are continuous. This is what I meant by a continuous chain of pleasures. It is continuous. It does not end, okay? It is not ephemeral. This is what we seek. And this is why we cannot be truly satisfied with the pleasures of this life. The pleasures of this life, they're like samples, okay? And the real deal, as they like to say, is in the next life, okay? I'm going to stop here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you were able to benefit from it. And inshallah, I will see you guys next time. Al-Fatiha.